on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Parker.
And I'm Stevie.
Today, we are looking at 1993's Leprechaun, directed by Mark Jones.
Join us as we journey to the end of the rainbow, and we learn all about how to catch a leprechaun.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to scream, Parker?
Oh, girl, I'm ready to scream. Come on, girl.
Let's scream.
All right, so Leprechaun. This is the Jennifer Anniston one, okay? And it's St. Patrick's Day, by the way. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. That's why we decided to do this movie.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
And, I don't know, Stevie, how do you feel about Leprechaun?
It's good. It's fine.
Stupid.
It's stupid. It's not like...
But it's so campy.
Yes. It's very campy. It's fine.
Jennifer Aniston. This was a very early... in her career movie.
I will also say, if you all want to watch these movies, because there are a total of...
Oh, there's so many.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 or 8 films so far, and there's a 9th one coming out. It's a reboot, hell yeah.
Oh, really?
But they play them every St. Patrick's Day on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, hell yeah.
Movies. So if you all want to watch it, there's one where he goes to space. That's
Yeah.
Leprechaun 4.
Apparently the best one is Leprechaun in the Hood. That's like the most critically acclaimed one. So we'll have to watch that one at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is really funny. Warwick Davis, who is the actor who plays the Leprechaun, is so funny in the role. He just chews the scenery, camps it the fuck up the entire movie. And you've got Jennifer Aniston being Jennifer Aniston. The whole movie. Which
Imagine if Rachel from Friends hadn't met a leprechaun.
Yeah.
It's the exact same.
It's the same character. Literally. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into it. I really don't have much to say on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be real with y'all. We're probably going to be so unbearable in this episode with our Jennifer Aniston
voice.
impersonation.
Yeah. I'm trying to I'm going to try not to use it as much so that it doesn't become super annoying, but it just came out. Yeah. It's based on Vanessa Bayer's impression from SNL that she does, which if you've never seen that, look that up. It's so funny. It's so accurate.
It's so funny.
So yeah, at this point, we'll go ahead and hop into it.
There's spoilers for this movie.
If you don't want to be spoiled, I guess go watch Leprechaun. But...
I watched it on Peacock.
I watched it on Peacock too, yeah.
So,
let's get into it, girl.
Let's get into it.
I'm ready. Okay. The Leprechaun. So, right away. And this movie, I will say, it moves so fast, and it's a short little movie. It is snippy, snappy, and right to the point.
Yes.
Which I really appreciate.
Fuck around. They were like, we know what this movie is.
Yeah.
We're just going to do it. I think this movie was also initially supposed to be horror, and then the actor came in who played the Leprechaun. The Leprechaun is played by...
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis, and he was like, no, I'm going to make this a little bit more comedy.
He camped it up.
He camped it up, and it's great casting.
Right away, we see him as the Leprechaun. Well, we kind of see his silhouette at first.
Yeah.
He is walking down some stairs into a dungeon, and he's caressing his pot of gold, and he says, "Try as they may, try as they might, whoever steals me gold won't live through the night."
Oh.
So then we cut to a man showing up very late and very drunk to his house where his wife is waiting on him. He got a limo ride home.
Yeah.
And she's like, "A limousine? Oh my goodness. Tell me what's going on here. What are you doing?"
We can't afford this. Why are you getting a limousine?
Yeah. And I love their accents.
Yes.
Because they're from Ireland. They're Irish immigrants. And this is set in South Dakota or North Dakota or something. North Dakota, okay. And he says, "Bitch, we're rich now, okay?" Yeah. And he says, "Did the funeral parlor deliver the package?" And she's like, but what are you gonna do with all your mother's ashes? and he smashes the urn that was in the package and reveals this little drawstring bag, and it is filled with gold pieces. And he says, I got me a leprechaun. He says, I got him to show me where his gold was. And she says, you're a drunken fool and a storyteller. And she's just like, not buying his bullshit. She goes to make some tea. She hears the voice of a little boy, like a small child, singing, Mary had a little...
This reminds me of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Like
it's
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Like the little girl who jumps rope.
Nursery rhyme that they would sing. I was like, what is going on?
And
she why this song?
True, yeah, very random. She goes into the living room and she finds that the voice is coming from this like big suitcase that Mr. O'Grady had brought home, her husband. And the like little voice of the little child is like, please let me out. I can't breathe in here. And so she unlocks the suitcase. And we see that it is the leprechaun.
He's hiding a fucking suitcase.
Yeah. And, but we only see him in shadow.
Yeah.
First. And he says, still like the gold buckles on me shoes. I want me gold now. And he scares her and she falls down the stairs.
Cellar stairs and
She
dies.
snaps her neck on the way down. Deadzo. And Mr. O'Grady comes downstairs and we hear his wife's voice calling out for him. But in walks the leprechaun serving the tea tray that she had recently prepared. And yeah, we kind of gather, okay, he has the superpower where he can mimic people's voices.
Yep.
Kind of like on our last episode, Baby Jane, how she could mimic Blanche's voice.
Perfectly, yeah.
And he demands his gold and we finally see his face for the first time. And it's that creepy, like nasty. It looks really good. I miss special effects and like the professional makeup jobs that they would do back in the day. Because now I feel like he'd be like a CGI face. But it looks so, like the makeup is so well done. He's so scary, nasty little guy.
Yes.
And he taunts Mr. O'Grady. And so O'Grady goes to get a gun. But then the leprechaun teleports on him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's another power.
Yeah, he has a lot of these like just magical abilities.
And he can like teleport around. But then O'Grady reveals that he has a 4-leaf clover. And this is basically like kryptonite to the leprechaun. And he cowers away and O'Grady starts shooting him with the gun. And the leprechaun like runs away and he's like, catch me if you can! And he follows the leprechaun into the basement. And the leprechaun is there holding up the body of the wife. And he's using her like a puppet. Like a ventriloquist dummy. Yeah. And he continues to kind of taunt O'Grady. But then O'Grady is able to overpower him with the clover and by shooting him so many times. And he locks the leprechaun up in a crate. Yep. And he places the clover right on top.
So then he can't.
So that he's like weak. Yeah. And O'Grady gets like a tank of gas and he starts pouring gasoline all over. It's like he's gonna, light the place up so he can kill the leprechaun.
Yeah.
And the leprechaun like uses his, I guess, magic or whatever to make this guy have a stroke. And this guy like basically drops the match and it goes out and he falls over and we see that the leprechaun is like trapped basically in this empty house under the power of the 4-leaf clover. And then we cut to 10 years later. This cracked me the fuck up because it's this like royalty-free pop song that is like, gotta find me a 4-leaf clover.
yes.
It's like so
I gotta
on the
know what
nose.
the song is. I gotta look up what the song is.
We get like a montage of like this red Jeep driving through the like countryside going somewhere. We see that it is Jennifer Anniston.
Yes.
Very young.
This was her second film.
Her second film, yeah.
But her first credited role because she was in Mac and Me in 1988. She was a dancer at a McDonald's party. Uncredited role.
Well, she shows up to this, like, farmhouse. It's the O'Grady's farmhouse, the people who died in the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
They're moving into it, and it, as far as we know, hasn't been messed with or touched or anything since the whole debacle with the Leprechaun 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the house is, like, covered in cobwebs. It's nasty. It's old. There's, like, tarantulas crawling around everywhere.
Yeah.
And-
yeah, like big-ass tarantulas, which are not native to North Dakota, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, but Jennifer Aniston is giving very much, oh my god.
It's a crappy house.
There's cobwebs.
And Dad,
Oh.
spider.
There's a spider. Oh,
Dad, there's a spider. I'm getting out. I'm leaving.
Ross.
There's no, and I guess they came from like California or something because she's like, there's no malls, there's no beaches.
I just want to go shopping. Yeah.
There's no cell phone reception. Oh, I got a bar. I'm calling. I'm going to a hotel.
Oh, there's a spider. Oh.
Do they ever give a reason why they moved here?
He's got a good price on it and downsizing or something. I don't know.
I guess.
He probably got a good price on it because it's a shit show.
Yeah.
Cobwebs everywhere. And they go into the basement. She sees a spider. She's like, oh, I have to get out of here. And the dad's like, which, by the way, the dad is hot. He's a DILF, for sure. I thought at first, like, they were dating because he looks, like, young and, like, sexy.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, it's a fixer-upper. I know you don't like it, but I got a great buy on it. And she's like, I'm going to make a reservation at the hotel. I can't be here. And she gets out her huge 90s, like, mobile phone.
Yeah.
Which I always think of Romeo and Michelle.
Hey, if anybody needs to make a call, I've got a phone.
She's like, oh, yeah, I need a reservation. Yeah. And she bumps into a hot guy named Nathan, who is, like, the painter guy. Who's been hired to come and, like, help them fix the house up. And she bumps into him and she spills his paint thinner all over. And she offers to, like, pay. And he's like, money doesn't help, but saying sorry does.
Oh, yeah, she keeps being like, oh, here's 20. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
How about 40?
40?
40? $40?
$100.
Okay, well, I can always go get you more from the,
He's like, maybe if you just said you're sorry. And I don't like Nathan. And I don't like their relationship. And I don't like anything about it. He's, like, there to just kind of, like, nag her and
so they can have
mansplain
a romantic
things.
relationship in this movie.
Yeah.
To have a romantic relationship in this movie.
And he's like, money doesn't help. But I'm like, money does help. Like, you could replace your paint thinner. You could get, like, maybe a better brand. Like, she's right. Like, you're just annoying.
We'll also get to more parts of this when they're fixing up the house, because there's a point where they're painting the house, but it's the most random fucking colors.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they were literally told to be like, oh, pretend you're painting. And they're like, oh.
The production crew was like, well, we have some paint in the back room, so they can just use this. Like, we don't need to go buy more paint. And he's like, yeah, girls are dumb. Like, why are you all afraid of spiders? I don't get it. And she's like, excuse me. This is the 90s. Yeah. Women are equal.
Hello? Equal rights?
And
Heard of it? Hello?
He's like, whatever. And I also noted he's wearing an Aladdin purple vest.
Yes, he was.
And I don't like it, and I don't like him.
Yeah.
He's annoying.
I didn't really care for him the whole time.
But he's like, oh, well, I think he's kind of like women who aren't scared are, like, sexy or something. And so she, like, stays and decides that she's going to help out with the house to, like, impress him because she thinks he's hot, basically.
I want to get, dick down.
I want your cock. Yeah. Oh, Ross.
What's his name?
I mean, Nathan.
Nathan.
We
meet
meet
our two comic relief characters.
Yeah. And I put comic relief in quotes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's like the older adult that's stupid and child dynamic, which is like an overdone.
It's so, yeah. The
Overdone.
The kid is like a grown-up in a kid's body.
And
the adult is kind of problematic, honestly. It's like a very 90s depiction of somebody with like probably some kind of neurodivergence.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's kind of icky to me. I mean, like, anytime, like, back in these old movies, especially, like, the 80s and 90s, where they're doing a stereotype kind of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel great. You're like, oh, I'm glad, like, we don't do shit like this anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, the adult, his name is Ozzy. The little kid is Nathan's little brother, actually. His name is Alex. And they're there to help with the painting, I guess.
Yeah.
They, like, kind of work for Nathan and help him with his business.
Yeah.
And this is when Jennifer Aniston goes down into the basement and we see the crate with the 4-leaf clover on it is still there in the basement.
Uh-oh.
And
they're gonna pry it open.
Yep. And we actually see, we can hear and tell that the leprechaun is still in there. We see him, like, kind of watching her, like, through the cracks in the crate. He's like, and
He's just like, his little laugh.
His little laugh, and yeah, it's great.
I do like him always trolling.
He trolls so much, yeah. They get ready to pry it open, but then they get distracted by, like, Ozzy and Alex or whatever, like, goofing around. And then the leprechaun starts using his little kid voice again.
And singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Twinkle, little star. And Ozzy hears the voice, and he is lured down into the basement. And the leprechaun's like, please let me out. And Ozzy takes the clover off of the crate, and the leprechaun bursts out. And then he, like, eats a bug. And he's like, this is the first meal I've had in 10 years.
I'm a leprechaun.
Yeah.
That's kind of like his whole thing. He's just like, I'm a leprechaun.
Yeah. And he introduces himself, and he says, I'm a shoemaker by trade.
That's right.
And he says, your shoes could use a shine, which, I'm sorry, please forgive my horrible Irish accent. I cannot do one, but, you know, it's Leprechaun.
Yeah.
And he says, your shoes could use a shining. And then he says, have you seen me gold? Tell me or I'll bite your ear off and make a boot out of it. And he uses his, like, powers to close the basement door. But Ozzy is still manages to get it open. And he flees. And Leprechaun says, you only got away from me because I'm weak. I want me gold. And Ozzy runs and tells all of them. But they don't believe him. They're like, okay, like, whatever.
A leprechaun. Okay.
Jennifer Aniston's like, oh, Ozzy.
Huh? What?
That makes no sense.
Ridiculous.
Oh. And
well, let's go on.
Investigate.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Investigate.
Mm-mm. I love it. The way she always goes, mm-mm. The throat clearing. She's one of those actresses that she has tics, you know.
She has her little tics.
She's Jennifer Aniston. Like, how else do you describe it? That's just how she is. They go down to check, and there's no sign of the leprechaun. Then they go outside, and a rainbow forms in the sky. LGBTQA+. Ozzy insists that it's the leprechaun's rainbow. He's like, oh, we gotta go. And Ozzy and Alex go out to the end of the rainbow, kind of in the woods, and they find an old abandoned truck at the end of the rainbow. And they open the car door, and they find a bag full of gold.
And Ozzy swallows a piece.
Yeah, which I'm like, what? Oh, yeah, because he's like...
They're like, is this real? And he's like, oh, you can bite it to see
it.
it. And it's like, how the fuck did you swallow it?
How did he swallow it?
Because it's off screen. Like, we see, like, Alex looking at the coins, and we just hear a...
Yeah.
like a gulping noise.
It's like,
It's
bitch,
like, I'll
did you
swallow
just
one.
eat it? Like, and
He'll get it eventually.
we go back to the house where Jennifer Aniston and the Nathan, like the Aladdin guy with the vest, they're painting together. And they keep flirting, and she's like, oh. And she goes to grab some paint from, like, the bed of his truck. And it pans down, and the leprechaun is underneath the truck. And he starts, like, caressing her leg.
And she's like, oh,
Nathan.
that feels amazing. Oh, Nathan.
And then...
He scratches her.
She's like, oh, my God.
Nathan,
what was that?
Oh,
and
I'm
she
hurt?
realizes, she looks under the car, and no one's there. And
But you see, like, something, like, the bushes, like, behind,
kind
like,
of
rustling.
rustle, yeah. So
Like, something ran off.
And she freaks out, and she tells her hot dad, the DILF, and Nathan. And then they hear a cat meowing in this, like, log. And the dad is like, oh, that was just a cat that was, like, touching your leg or that scratched you.
She's like, no, it was
no,
a hand.
It was a hand, I swear. And the dad puts his arm into the log.
And it bites him! The leprechaun bites him!
And we see, like, it cuts to the leprechaun, like, clearly, like, photoshopped or, like, superimposed in the log. And he's like, he, like, sneaks his little head in. And they're like, oh my god. She's like, Dad, we need to get you to a hospital. Yeah.
An emergency? Could be infected?
Yeah. Oh, Ross.
Feeds.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to our followers. We can never do another Jennifer Aniston movie after this.
Never done another horror movie, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's true, I guess. I don't know, but she did.
But she has done some horrible movies.
She's done some horrible movies. That's for sure.
This might be one of them.
This is number one. Yeah.
She started off strong.
Mm-hmm. And they get into the truck. They take the dad to the hospital, and the leprechaun finds like a tricycle in the garage. And comes out, he's like, doo-doo-doo, and starts, like, riding down the road to go get them.
The gold.
Ozzy and Alex make a stop at this, like,
Pawn shop.
This coin collecting
See if the
shop.
gold's real.
And the guy is like, okay, well, just leave it with me overnight. And
I don't really recognize this, but let me research it.
I can,
figure it out.
examine it. And they leave, and the guy goes to put it in his safe. And a tricycle rolls into him from off screen, which I thought was creepy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see anyone there. He's like, okay, whatever. He goes to continue opening the safe, and when he opens it, the leprechaun pops out! And he bites the guy on the leg. It's nasty. Yeah. And he says, now it's time to play. And he gets a pogo stick.
And he starts
pogo sticking this guy to death, basically. Like, bouncing on him.
No!
It's so campy.
It's probably my favorite death.
Yeah, definitely,
it's the best one.
He's like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, like, just bouncing up and down, this guy. And then he shines the dead corpse's shoes. He's like, oh, need a shining. He gets the coin, and he says, 1 coin down, 99 to go. And then he sees a leprechaun-sized, like, toy car. And he says, by the luck of the Irish. We cut to Jennifer Aniston and Aladdin. I'm just going to call him Aladdin because of his Aladdin vest. At the diner. And the 4-leaf clover pop song plays again. It's so camp. It's like, I need to get me a 4-leaf clover. Like, it's so stupid.
And she doesn't have anything to drink. She was like, I wanted a salad and a Evian water, and you only have beer and burgers.
And I'm from LA.
And it's just I'm hungry.
I'm so hungry. And he says, you're too skinny and you should just eat some meat. And she's like, I'm a vegetarian. I don't want to kill living things. And he says, okay, well, your shoes are also made of dead cow, huh? And we see her shoes, and I've noted there had to be a Nike sponsorship for this movie. Because the amount of zoom-ins we get on her 90s fucking, like, Nike's tennis shoes. It's just funny.
It's probably, honestly.
Like, I would not be surprised. The leprechaun's out, he's riding his little, like, motorized
toy car, and he gets pulled over by a fucking cop.
By a cop. And the cop is, like, thinks he's, like, a child. He's clearly not. I mean, he has, like, a beard and, like,
and he's like,
looks
I'm
like
over
a gremlin.
600 years old.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not young. I'm 600 years old. And the cop, like, is being an asshole cop, like, 80s cop or 90s, whenever this is, and, like, kicks his car and calls him, like, a smart ass. And Leprechaun's like, it's not nice to make fun of a leprechaun. And he squeezes the cop's
Face with his, like, claw. I thought he was gonna rip off his face. I'm not gonna lie. And then he doesn't. He just, like, really...
It's kind of like, like...
really dug his claws in.
Digs his
and
claws
the cop,
in.
like, runs away. And I love this whole... I will say, I love this whole chase
This was a
sequence.
good... Yeah, this is fun. The cop goes into the woods, and the leprechaun pursues him. And the leprechaun keeps, like, teleporting on him. And then just, like, running away.
Yeah.
And he kind of confuses the cop.
Just, like, really making the cop, like, panic. And the cop is, like, just wants to be left alone at this point.
And then he kind of, like, disappears. And so the cop's like, okay, I guess he's gone. And he, like, tries to catch his breath. He sits down in front of a tree. And then we get a jump scare because the leprechaun, like, jumps on him and snaps his neck.
Yep.
Kills the cop. The leprechaun returns to the farmhouse while it's empty to look for his gold.
And he finds that box of Lucky
Charms cereal.
He's
like,
ooh, Lucky Charms.
That was great. And he starts rifling through drawers, and he kind of makes a huge mess. I like this. He, like, finds a mirror and, like, spooks himself. He's like, oh shit! That's what I look like. I forgot. Then he gathers all the shoes in the house and, like, puts them on the kitchen table and starts shining them.
Yeah.
He has to, like, impulsively shine shoes. I love that about him. And Jennifer Aniston and her crew kind of come home and discovered the house is, you know, all rifled through and there's a huge mess. And she's like, oh, what happened? And Ozzy's like, it's the leprechaun. He likes shoes. Like, he told me he wants to shine shoes.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course they don't believe Ozzy.
Still no.
Then they hear this, like, bell sound, like from the tricycle, like, you know, that kind of, like, bike bell sound. And they realize the bell is just sitting on the table and no one's ringing it. So where's that noise coming from? And Aladdin goes outside. He's like, let me check it out. And he gets caught in a bear trap.
Yes. Oh my God. It's like Dead by Daylight playing against the Trapper.
Yeah, the Trapper, right. The leprechaun reveals himself to Aladdin and they have, like, a showdown. And Jennifer Aniston comes out, the boys come out, and they're trying to help. The leprechaun starts biting Nathan, like, on his leg.
Yeah.
And Jen starts smacking him around with her purse. And Ozzy he runs to go get the police. And Alex runs to go get the shotgun.
And the cops don't take Ozzy's call seriously.
Well, because he literally is like, there's a leprechaun attacking us. And they're like, okay. You know, they think it's like a prank call or whatever.
Yeah.
And Alex gives Nathan, / Aladdin, the shotgun. And he shoots a leprechaun in the stomach and, like, sends him back
all the way back
into like a bush. Yeah. And Aladdin kind of, like, shoots around in the bushes until he runs out of bullets. And then they go check, but the leprechaun has vanished. They retreat back into the house and decide that they need to get Aladdin to the emergency room for his leg. And they kind of, like, go out. They're, like, nervous. They hastily, like, make their way out to the truck. But it doesn't start because we established earlier that this truck has, like, some engine issues. You have to, like, get under the hood and, like, adjust something in order to get it to start.
Yeah.
Alex, the little kid, like, he knows how to, like, kind of rig it. And so he gets out of the truck and he goes and he lifts up the hood.
And the leprechaun jumps out.
The leprechaun jumps out. And Alex, like, he kind of chases Alex back into the car and they lock the leprechaun out. But then he climbs up on the windshield and, like, punches it in and, like, shatters the glass. And he gets in and he bites Ozzy's, like, ear.
Yes.
And Jennifer Aniston...
She uses the cigarette lighter back when those were in cars.
To, like, burn them.
And burns him.
And the leprechaun retreats into the garage. And he, like, we hear, like, some, like sounds of, like, something being, like, constructed really fast, like in fast motion. And then he, like, emerges with, like, a death machine.
Vehicle. It's like a pitchfork attached to, like, the little car he was driving. Yeah. And he smashes... Okay, this is wild, because he then smashes into the car.
And he's like, ring around the rosy,
and it flips
full of
over.
Posy. Yeah, and then he, like, flips the truck over. And everyone's still in the truck, so they're like, ah!
And then also, like, how fucking fast? Like, how did that little car do that?
Right, yeah. And they all get out of the car, and they run back into the house. And the leprechaun is chasing them, and she has to, like, crunch his hand in the door, like she slams the door.
Yeah.
And it causes his hand to, like, snap off. And then the hand is still like moving around, and it crawls its way like back to the leprechaun, like underneath the door. Jen uses her cell phone, her mobile phone. She's like, oh, let me get my cell phone. And she calls the cops, and they're like, okay, we're on their way. And then the battery on her phone dies like as soon as she was able to get through to them.
Yeah.
The sheriff back at the police station calls his deputy to go out to the house. But we see his deputy is the dead cop that the leprechaun like snapped his neck. So, you know, they're fucked basically.
Damn.
The leprechaun even is like on the radio, like mimicking the voice of the cop, like back to the sheriff. Like, okay, sounds good. Back at the house, Jennifer Aniston is like refusing to believe that this is a real leprechaun. Alex admits that it is a leprechaun because we found his gold. We went to the end of the rainbow and we found his pot of gold.
That pot of gold.
And Jen gets the shotgun and she is going to go out there, even though admittedly she does not know how to use the gun.
Yeah.
And she needs to go out to the well. They have this well because Ozzy and Alex put the gold at the bottom of this well, like on the pulley system. In the bucket. And she winds the well up. And this is a suspenseful scene because it's like, oh no, like he could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And she retrieves the bag of gold. And then the leprechaun immediately like jumps out. There's a lot of jump scares with him being like, duh,
hey, I'm here.
Yeah. And she just, gives him his gold. And he accepts it and he takes it with him and she runs back into the house. Like, oh, I did it. And the leprechaun is outside. We see him. He starts counting his gold pieces.
He's like, 98, 99.
Where's the missing piece? Yeah.
And then he's like, he thinks they're like trying to trick him.
Yeah, he's pissed. And because, as we said earlier, Ozzy accidentally swallowed one of the pieces. Back inside, Alex goes to get some ice from the fridge, and the leprechaun jumps out of the fridge and starts attacking them, and he like kind of falls and he accidentally
burns his hand.
Yeah, on the like stove. And he's like, we're cooking now, kids. They pursue the leprechaun like throughout the house.
Yeah.
He just keeps like teleporting on them. He eventually like comes down the chimney like Santa Claus, and he's like, ho, 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 I'm here and I ain't no Santa Claus. And Nathan shoots him. They think he's dead. And then he pops right back up and they keeps chasing them some more. And at one point he like shows up on a skateboard and is like doing flips and shit.
Yeah.
Just, kind of fucking with them at this point. Then he disappears. They get a call on the phone and Jennifer Aniston goes, she's like, hello? And a nasty little like baby creature hand like pops out of the receiver, like receiving end of the phone.
Yeah.
And like starts like, tickling her face and scares her. And she kind of throws it. It's very Nightmare on Elm Street when Nancy answers the phone and Freddy's like tongue comes out and like licks her. Yeah. And this is when Ozzy admits to the group that he swallowed the gold piece. And he's like, so I just basically need to go out there and give myself over to Leprechaun. And they're like, no, like we can't let you do that. And
how long ago? You got shit?
Right. That's all. I'm like, just wait for him to take it off. But he says that Ozzy tells them that there was a man who used to live in this house. This is the old man from the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
Mr. O'Grady. And he used to tell him stories about leprechauns and would know how to kill a leprechaun.
Yeah.
And we actually learned that he is still alive. He survived that stroke that he had at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And he is now living in like an old folks home down at the end of town. And so they're like, okay, so Jennifer Aniston is like, okay, I will go visit him. I will go figure out how to kill the leprechaun. Then we get my favorite scene in the movie. I love this part. In order to like distract the leprechaun so that Jennifer Aniston can get in the Jeep so she can go to the retirement home, they gather up all the shoes in the house and start throwing them on the front lawn.
And the leprechaun, like, just impulsively, like, has to start, like, shining these shoes. He's like, oh, let me get this one. Oh, let me get this one. So and just love the camp of that. Like,
Yeah.
he has to shine the shoes.
And so she's able to, get into the Jeep and drive away. And the leprechaun gets some roller skates and starts, like, cruising, like, trying to follow her.
Yes, I love him on the roller skates. That's like all of his modes of transportation in this are very fun.
Great,
Yeah.
yeah. Every scene he's got, like, a new, like, little sight gag. At one point he crashes through the fence and it leaves, like, a leprechaun-shaped hole in the fence. It's great. And Jen goes into the retirement home, and the security guard is the world's worst security guard, taking a nap at the front counter. And she's very easily able to, like, grab the keys, grab the, like, book of all the names and figure out where Old Man Grady is staying. We get this very suspenseful scene of Jennifer Aniston walking through the retirement home, looking around for, like, the room that the guy is staying in. And she thinks she sees, like, the shadow of the leprechaun. It's a mop bucket. And then she goes into Mr. O'Grady's room, and she sees him, like, facing away from her, rocking in the rocking chair. But of course, it's revealed it's the leprechaun in disguise.
Yeah.
He scares her, and she starts running, and he is, like, wheeling after her in the wheelchair. And I think this is a very clear homage to Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2.
Yes.
It's that she's trying to get into the elevator, and she's, pressing the button to close the elevator door and frantically trying to get them to shut in time.
Yeah.
And the leprechaun is, like, trying to get in.
Yeah.
It's very that scene in Halloween 2 when Jamie Lee Curtis is trying to get into the elevator away from Michael Myers. Yeah. And she is able to, like, evade him. She gets into the elevator. It closes. It starts going up. And then out of the, like, elevator shaft, Mr. O'Grady, like, falls through and, like, jump scares her. Like, I guess the leprechaun, like, tied him up there or something.
For some reason.
Yeah. And he's still alive, but he's barely breathing. And he tells her that there is only one way to kill the leprechaun. He says, you need a 4-leaf clover. And you have to touch him with it. Like, you have to touch his skin with the clover. That is the only way that you can, like, strip all of his powers away, and then you'd be able to kill him after he gets touched with the clover. Jen goes to the, like, little patch of grass by the well.
Yeah.
And, oh my god, you're gonna make me have to yawn.
Sorry.
It's coming. No, it's not coming.
Well, yeah, because he told her that there was a patch near the house of 4-leaf clovers. She should be able to find one.
And she starts, like, picking through the grass, trying to find one. The leprechaun jumps out and he goes, little girl should look for 4-leaf clovers. And he starts chasing her into the woods. She sees the cop car from the dead Zoe cop and discovers his corpse chilling in there and freaks out. The leprechaun traps her in the car, and she takes the cop's nightstick and, like, jabs it into the leprechaun's eye.
Yeah.
And, like, jabs his eye out. Then he takes his little claw finger and digs out the eye from the dead cop and pops it into his own eye to, like, replace it, which was really gross. And thankfully, her friends show up and they shoot the leprechaun down, and they all, like, go over into, like, the field and start looking for 4-leaf clovers.
Yeah.
And Alex goes into the barn and gets a bear trap out and sets it up to try and catch the leprechaun.
Yep.
And we see the leprechaun is, like, up on the scaffolding, like, watching Alex, being creepy and, like, kind of stalking him. They're back out there. We cut to them looking for clovers, and Jennifer Aniston has a breakdown. She's like, it's impossible. Oh, what are we going to do? And this is, like, a corny, like, Ozzy's like, you gotta believe that the power of friendship kind of bullshit. And she's like, Ozzy,
You're right.
okay, fine. I believe. I believe. And she pulls it up, and it's a 4-leaf clover. They found one, like, right as soon as she, like, found... Oh my god.
There it is!
Mm-hmm.
I found one.
4-leaf clover. Yeah.
Where's the leprechaun?
Leprechaun. And the leprechaun is in the barn, and the leprechaun grabs Alex and tackles him down and tries to, like, shove his head into the bear trap to kill the little boy. And then Ozzy, like, shows up, and he tells the leprechaun, he's like, hey, it's me you want. I swallowed your gold coin, so go after me. And the leprechaun, like, sets his sights on Ozzy and starts chasing him.
Slashing at him.
Yeah, he, like, gets him down and starts, like, he has the buckle from his shoe and starts, like, slashing at his face. Bro, wake up.
Yawning.
You
I
have
am
yawned
yawning.
maybe 50 times during this recording.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Give yourself a little, like, pat on the cheeks. That always helps me not yawn. I go like this. Yeah. Because we don't want to put our listeners to sleep. We don't want to make them yawn.
That's not my opinion on this movie.
I mean, this movie is a yawn. But that doesn't mean you have to yawn, Stevie.
Yeah, he's taking the buckle from his shoes and he's taking, like, the pointy edge of it and slashing at Ozzy's face. And then Alex shows up with, like, a slingshot. He takes the 4-leaf clover, sticks it to his chewing gum, piece of his, like, gum that he had chewed, so it's nice and sturdy. And then he says, hey, Lep, fuck you, Lucky Charms. And he slingshots the 4-leaf clover right into the leprechaun's mouth. And the leprechaun's like, and starts, like, gagging on it and, like, kind of, like, falls back into the well. And then his, like, body starts to, like, disintegrate and melt, and there's, like, all these shitty, like, 90s special effects going on, like,
and then he fucking explodes.
Basically, yeah.
And this is actually kind of a sweet moment, I thought, of Ozzy being like, I did something smart. And they're like, oh yeah, Ozzy, like, you did. Da, 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 da. It's like kind of a wholesome little moment. But of course, Leprechaun is not dead, because it's going to take more than a little 4-leaf clover to kill him. The 4-leaf clover weakens him, but doesn't kill him. And so his nasty little, like, zombie leprechaun body, like, pops out the well. And they, like, push him back in. And so Aladdin goes and gets some gas and pours it down the well.
Yeah.
And then lights a match. And then the well, like, just
Blows
explodes in this big explosion. And
then,
everyone survives.
the cops arrive.
Cops show up.
And then we hear the leprechaun say, I'll not rest till I find me gold. Curse this well where my soul shall dwell, till I find me magic that breaks me spell.
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying that he's going to come back for sequels.
Yeah.
And he does. Many sequels.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's it.
This was not even like an hour long.
We
are at 48 minutes.
There's not much to talk about.
No. There's no themes.
No.
No lessons learned.
I'm gonna be real. My problem, I think why I couldn't get super into this movie, I think I was expecting more. I wasn't that into it because I've seen comedy horror films or films that kind of take these twists, and they kind of have you more root for the killer, whereas this one was kind of making you try to care about this group of people that I did not give a shit about.
True.
And I just kind of wish, and I think I'm pretty sure that, like, all the sequels go more this route where it's like, it's just about the leprechaun doing these chaotic, like, crazy, over-the-top deaths, like, in murders, which is kind of what I wanted more.
Yeah, that's
but,
true.
like, his little one-liners were fun. Like, it's a fun film.
You know what? The reason why I think it works, and I said this a little bit at the beginning, but it's just such a short, sweet, snappy, little, simple, movie. It's very compact.
90 minutes.
Digestible.
They're like, we're going to get right into it. We're not going to do all this stupid bullcrap. Like, the Leprechaun, even when, like, he goes away for the 10 years, he comes back very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
There's, like, not a lot of exposition, which I like. It's just, like, I agree with that. This movie is quick, short, and gets straight to the point.
Yeah.
I just think it could have been more fun.
Yeah, for sure. But it was the first one,
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
set up like a good foundation for the rest of
The rest of
I
the
mean, to
series.
be honest, I've not seen all the Leprechaun movies.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple here and there. Some are good, some are bad, but
Most are bad.
I want to do Leprechaun in the Hood, though. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be a fun
Apparently,
one.
that's like the best one. So, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston getting chased around by a leprechaun.
Oh,
Oh my god.
we survived.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh, we killed him. Thank you so much for joining us today on Let's Scream.
Yeah.
We hope you had a fun time with us at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave a review. Yeah.
And you can also send us any movie requests or
Yeah.
if you can follow us.
Yeah. On
Social media.
Instagram. Yeah. We will lose followers. We're like, follow us. No one will be following
We also
us
have a
after this
podcast.
episode.
Are we not an Instagram for our podcast now?
Yes, thank you to Key In, our social media
Yeah,
manager
manager.
/ your partner, for
Who will
helping
be
us put together.
In next week's episode.
Yes,
Special
that's what I
guest.
was just gonna say. We have our first guest next week. It is Key In,
Our social media manager and my partner.
and your partner, who was very gracious enough to put together an Instagram. So please follow us on Instagram at Let's Scream Pod.
And that's Let's Scream. So there's two S's.
S's.
Pod. Should be easy to find.
Yeah, and I want Keaton to make a little TikTok, a little Tic Tac.
Tic Tac.
A little TikTok account for us as well. So coming to TikTok soon. You can follow me at Parker_Will_C on Instagram as well.
And you can follow me at StevieNash95 on Instagram.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Until next time.
This has been Let's Scream.
Scream.
Bye.
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 Bye.